Good Thursday morning, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, voice you know with the news you trust studio, sponsored by Grain Equipment Company, where innovation meets execution. I'm Dusty Sonnenberg. Well, partly cloudy skies outside, 19 degrees on the barn thermometer. It is still a cold January morning, but we are looking to warm up possibly above freezing later on today and into the weekend. Unfortunately, it won't last long as low temperatures next week are forecast to be sub-zero. A quick reminder, today is the final day of the Fort Wayne Farm Show. That takes place at the Allen County War Memorial Coliseum in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Let's check in now on our weekly update from the Ohio Soybean Council. We're joined today by Dr. Horacio Lopez Nacora. He is the OSU Extension soybean pathologist and nematologist, talking about the soybean vein necrosis virus that we experienced last growing season and the transmission by thrips, and thoughts about when the infection initially could have occurred.
And that proliferation of these thrips very early in the season, and especially starting with a high initial population, will definitely allow them to start feeding very early, even before flowering. And then, it takes a while for a symptom to develop. However, that's when we normally, start seeing it more often. When I started showing these pictures of these, symptoms that we were seeing in Ohio to a group of plant pathology that we normally meet once a month during the season, just to share what's going on in other states, other groups were starting to see the same disease. And one of the comments that I remember was, wow, it's pretty early for it to start showing up. So clearly we have a combination of all these factors that allow this to happen, right?
And today's research update brought to you by the Ohio Soybean Council and your soybean checkoff. Taking a look at your agricultural headlines, the Great Lakes navigation season has come to a close as of yesterday, as a matter of fact. After saying goodbye to the last salty ship of the season back on December the 28th, the Port of Duluth Superior closed for the end of the Laker season, as the Soo Locks then closed yesterday. Now, Laker season is actually longer than salty season. We're talking about ships that strictly go on the Great Lakes versus those ships that are salties that go out in the ocean. That's the big difference there. The Soo Locks, MacArthur Lock, closed for the navigation season as they will conduct their seasonal repairs and maintenance. They did that back on December the 16th. Now, the USACE Detroit District on their website said the Polock would remain open until yesterday or until the commercial traffic ceased, whatever was first. The Soo Projects Office, that's a multidisciplinary team of teams that perform and oversee critical inspections, repairs, and maintenance during the annual non-navigation closure period, often referred to as winter work. With both the MacArthur and the Polocks being well beyond the intended service life, it's imperative that these national assets continue to be strategically managed and winter work activities are optimized to ensure operational reliability until the new lock at Soo is put into service. Now, the Soo Locks would remain closed through March the 25th to perform seasonal critical maintenance. Federal regulations establish the operating season based on a feasibility of vessels operating during the typical Great Lakes ice conditions, and more than 4,500 vessels carrying up to 80 million tons of cargo will maneuver through the Soo Locks annually. That includes iron ore, coal, wheat, and limestone as the most frequently carried commodities. And the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Detroit District maintains a navigation system, including 81 harbors and channels joining Lake Superior, Michigan, Huron, St. Clair, and Lake Erie. Well, speaking of the winter season, let's check in on your Thursday weather forecast brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance, online at seedconsultants.com.
Cold air continues to hold here for your Thursday. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at that Ohio Ag weather update. No major changes in thought process here. We get through the day today. Cold air in place. We probably have to deal with some additional on-again, off-again light snow. That's coming from a clipper that's well north in the Great Lakes, but throwing snow over all of Michigan, getting down into northern Indiana. And, yep, we've got it here, too, coating to an inch or so over probably 60% of Ohio, enhanced by the Great Lakes a little bit. If you don't see snow, you're definitely going to be seeing clouds through the day today. You got to take it easy as you're out and about. Now, tomorrow, we see a significant round of warming, temperatures going above normal. Snow melt will happen, and that creates some pools of water in places. I'm going to call it a flash melt, and it's ahead of our next weather system that lifts up in for Saturday. Well, early morning Saturday through the day. At this point, I'm still saying rain and wet snow I feel that it's going to be more toward the wet snow side of things. Data does not necessarily back me up 110%. So I think it can be both. Let's just put it that way. And it doesn't really matter whether it's rain or wet snow. The effect is going to be in addition to the sloppiness that gets started on Friday. And that's key because cold air comes racing in behind this Saturday night and Sunday. Flash freeze is back, and we are looking at single-digit highs for a large part of the Sunday through Thursday time frame. Overnight lows below zero. We're going to freeze these pools of water, freeze that sloppiness really, really quick. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more after this.
Watch your step, Ohio. Winter weather is here, so let's keep your team from slipping on the job. Make sure to examine your work areas daily and clear hazards that could result in a potential fall. Hoses, cords, buckets, farm tools, and equipment can all pose a problem. As the days get darker, you'll want to replace any poor lighting, too. Keep walkways and entrance areas clear, dress for the weather, and stay safe and warm. This safety tip brought to you by the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation. Visit pwc.ohio.gov for more safety resources.
Nearly 90% of farmers say that financial worries, constantly changing market conditions, and other uncontrollable variables take a toll on their mental well-being. Add in the weather and family dynamics, well, it's a lot to handle alone. But did you know farmers and their families can receive free confidential services from licensed professionals? Support is available 24/7 to help with the challenges you face. Look for Farm Family Wellness Alliance under the Resources tab at farmfoundation.org. Take care of yourself. Your well-being matters.
In weather news, the year 2025 was not even 2 weeks old when a billion-dollar climate and weather disaster happened. This time, the ongoing catastrophic wildfire events in Southern California. Now, they began back on January 7th, and since then, a combination of harsh dryness, low humidity, and what is described as some of the strongest Santa Ana winds since 2011 have torched the Los Angeles area. Santa Ana winds, which occur when very large air pressure differences east to west, produce extremely dry and warm sloping winds. They're a part of the weather and climate scene in Southern California. However, these winds typically occur during the fall, not in the winter. In addition, recent large swings in precipitation from very wet to being bone dry have played a big part in setting up this event as well. These big and relatively fast transitions produce what is termed hydroclimate whiplash. In Southern California, heavy precipitation during the last 2 years enticed thick vegetative growth in the region. Then came the dryness, and since May of 2024, LA County has received only 0.16 inches of precipitation. Plants dried up, and when the winds came, fire danger then was heightened. The California fire disaster has a tie-in to world climate patterns as well. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's World Climate Assessment for 2024 that was released back on January 10th noted that the Earth had the warmest year on record going back to 1850, with surface temperatures being 2.32 degrees Fahrenheit above the 20th century average, and in addition, the heat content of the upper oceans was a record high. In the oceans, the top 2,000 meters, which is about 6,600 feet, was a record high in 2024. NOAA noted that the 5 highest values have all occurred in the last 5 years, and the ocean heat records go back to 1958. Now, with the ocean heat, stronger and more resilient upper air high pressure centers, which drive the harsh fire creating winds, can develop, and these ocean heat waves are becoming stronger and larger because of the heat trapped by increasing human-generated greenhouse gases, they say. So these persistent and unusual weather patterns will probably become more common. That according to the Woodwell Climate Research Center's senior scientist Jennifer Francis. Now here in the Midwest and even across the Great Plains, it's tempting to look at the devastation in California as strictly a West Coast problem. After all, it is a desert. There's not much rain that goes on anyways, so of course fires will happen. But the factors which led to the Los Angeles fires were out of bounds even for the far west, and they have happened elsewhere as well. Just 3 years ago, you may recall, on December the 15th of 2021, a derecho tore through central U.S. with incredibly intense winds, tornadoes, and yes, even fire damage in parts of Kansas and Nebraska. Lincoln, Nebraska had a maximum wind speed of 93 miles per hour, and just as in the California fires, extra vegetative growth from the mild fall with periods of rain meant more dry supply fuel to support that fire development. In other agricultural headlines, the National Corn Growers Association published its 2025 Corn Competitiveness Report, providing a roadmap for the incoming Trump administration and the new Congress to bolster the economic outlook for farmers and rural America. Now, the report comes as corn growers are forecast to face a third year of negative returns in 2025. The U.S. is a corn-producing superpower, growing about one-third of the world's corn and doing so more sustainably than anywhere else on Earth, the report noted. But the future of this American-grown powerhouse is in jeopardy as costly and burdensome regulations and outdated, unfavorable policies hinder America's corn farmers' market access, resulting in higher cost and lower market prices. According to the report, the U.S. can turbocharge American competitiveness by focusing on 6 key targets, that being increasing global market access for U.S. corn, expanding the use of U.S. corn and ethanol, strengthening farm risk management, also preserving the American family farm legacy and farmland access, protecting access to agricultural innovations, and strengthening use of U.S. corn in American products. Now, the report provides specific examples of ways in which the U.S. can achieve these targets, and these include developing new foreign markets, passing legislation that will expand consumer access to higher blends of ethanol, ensuring sensible regulations are in place, and extending estate tax exemptions. If the United States is going to build the greatest economy in history, supporting American corn farmers is foundational, the report noted. Corn growers need an environment where they can be innovative, productive, and profitable, an environment with unobstructed access to necessary inputs, management tools, and markets. Corn grower leaders argue the change in Washington offers an opportunity to address these challenges. They say by following the report's recommendations, the Trump administration and Congress can boost the economy and ensure American corn growers are competitive on the world stage. Stay tuned. We'll be back to take a look at your markets after this. Morton Buildings is holding their annual Building Value Day sales event running now through the end of February. Morton Buildings are built stronger, last longer, and look better. So if you're planning for a garage, farm shop, stall barn, a storage building for your RV, boat, or collectibles, or anything in between, act now and contact one of their 4 Ohio offices by visiting mortonbuildings.com or call 800-447-7436 to take advantage of their current savings on select new buildings. Certain restrictions may apply. This offer is available on select building styles. Contact your local construction center for more details. Well, let's get a look at today's market analysis brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company. Excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Call 574-566-2113 for information on soybean marketing to LDC. Here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets finished the Wednesday session mostly mixed. We were down on soybeans, up a couple of pennies on corn, and wheat traded slightly higher as well. But again, it was a choppy day overall. What were the headlines in the marketplace on Wednesday? Well, ethanol and NOPA data is said to be a little bit supportive. Yesterday, the U.S. CPI data was better than expected, showing 2.9% growth versus an expected 3.0%, but inflationary trends eased quite a bit and have not really seen much change in the U.S. dollar strength. The dollar index yesterday was flat, having reversed overnight weakness. Currencies elsewhere were little changed. The Chinese yuan this week has struggled to recover from 4-month lows. Brazil sets just above all-time lows. Why are those currencies important? It is bang for the buck when it comes to exports. Meanwhile, ethanol production remains stubbornly elevated despite contracting margins in January. Production the week ending January 10 totaled 322 million bushels versus 324 the previous week, up 4% on the same week back a year ago. The September 1 to Jan 10 grind is at 6.03 billion gallons, up 3.6% year on year. That means there is upside to USDA's industrial corn use forecast that they didn't really mess with much at all in the last report. NOPA crush in December leaned neutral on beans, positive on oil, bearish on meal. Crush in December totaled 206.6 million bushels, a new all-time record, a million above trade expectations, up 13 million bushels from a year ago, or from last month, December of 2024. Meal production was massive at 4.9 million tons, up 6% on last year. Soy oil stocks were up 152 million pounds. So significant numbers on the crush, and it means we may still see weakness in bean meal, and beans are going to have trouble maybe here in just a few days. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Let's take a look now at your overnight trade brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Well, March corn is trading down 3/4 of a penny at $4.78, and December new crop corn is down 1 3/4 at $4.55 1/4. March soybeans trading down 7 cents at $10.35 3/4, with November new crop beans down 6 1/4 at $10.33, and wheat for July, the new crop down 1 3/4 at $5.66 3/4. Thanks for joining us. This is the Ohio AgNet.